Hi guys, this video is just going to explain this first science lesson of the 2020 school year. So the title is Observations and Inferences. And what I want you to do just to get warmed up is to look at this picture. And I want you to make one or two observations about it. And if you were in the live class, you'd do it in the chat. But if you're doing this on your own, then you're just going to go ahead and write it in here on your version of the slides. So you're going to use I observe or I see. You can go ahead and pause this video for a minute, go and do that and come back if you'd like. Our agenda today, so I'm going to go over the learning target with you. I'm going to share with you our first ever scientist of the day, not my first ever, but yours. We're going to have a couple of vocabulary words, observations and inferences, which you might have seen on my virtual classroom. We would have, if you were doing the live class, we get practice in small groups, but you can also try to do that by yourself. And then I'll go through the independent work for you to make sure you know what to do. Aisha Bo is our scientist of the day. She was the daughter of immigrants from the Bahamas. She has a bachelor's in science, a BS in aerospace engineering. She has an MS, which is a master's in science in space systems engineering. So she's a big time engineer. And she worked at NASA for a number of years where she won awards for her research that she was doing at the Ames Research Facility in California. She worked on like how airplanes fly depending on how much fuel they have and where the weight is and things like that, which is useful for NASA to know about when they're trying to get people to come back into the Earth. Then she founded, and she is currently the CEO, which is the Chief Executive Officer. That's like the top boss of a tech company called STEMboard, and they work for the government and other companies, and they try to solve their like technical issues. You can learn more about her. She has her own website. You can follow her on Twitter too. Okay, today we are going to differentiate between and inferences. Okay, so differentiate, I highlighted that word. What that means is to tell the difference, tell two things apart. So I use it in a sentence down here. Right after I wake up, move this, it is hard to differentiate between like what was real, what was a dream. You guys ever have that when you wake up and you're like, whoa, did that really just happen? That's one example of to differentiate, to tell two things apart. Maybe you have a hard time differentiating twins that you know because they look so similar. It's hard to tell them apart. Okay, so our first vocabulary is the word observation. An observation is information you gather with your senses, with your eyes, with your sense of sight, your sense of smell, your hearing, your feeling, your taste. And then you actually have a lot of other senses, but we won't get into those. Those are the five kind of famous ones. We use the verb observe mostly, or we can say I hear, I smell, I taste, but you can also, for all of those, say I observe. So here is an apple. You can say I observe the apple is red. I can see the apple is 3 inches tall. Maybe you see the apple as 2 green leaves. These are good observations, things that you can see. If you bit into the apple, what it tastes like, but just by looking at it, you can't observe its taste. You can, though, make an inference. An inference is something you think based on the observations you make. So for this apple, I observe the apple is red. Then I could infer the apple is ripe and juicy. I observe, I see it's red, and so therefore I think, because I saw it's red, that it's probably ripe and juicy. If it looked like old and shriveled, probably not juicy. If it's like green and really small, probably not juicy. But because it's red, because I made that observation, I think it is juicy. So here is a picture of my wife and my this is my older kid, but he's only like 16, 17 months old. We're in Japan at this time. So an inference is something you think because of observations you make. Here's another example. I observe that Maximo, that's my son's name, Maximo is crying. Oh, poor baby. And I infer that Maximo is tired and wants to take a nap. But you guys have babies in your houses. Maybe there are other inferences you can make. Maybe you can infer that Miss Pnor, she just took his binky, his pacifier out of his mouth. Maybe that's what made him cry. Maybe he's really hot or really cold. That makes him cry. Maybe he peed himself and he needs to change diaper. Maybe that's why he cried. These are all inferences you can make, but we can observe that he's crying. Great. So in the live class, at this point we broke up into great breakout groups and we worked on inferences for this picture as a group. But you can do this by yourself. You can just make a list of inferences. You can use sentences like I infer that, I think that, and I'll give you the hint of what do you think you know about me, Mr. Murphy? This is me, by the way, I'll give you away that one. What do you think you know about how I'm feeling? What it's like there, where I am, who this person is, based on things that you see, based on things you see in the background, things you see that we're wearing, maybe about the lighting, things like that. What inferences can you make? Things that you're not sure, but you think are true because of what you see. Go ahead and pause this now if you want. Work on these inferences. Okay, here's another picture of me. I'm in a different place now. I want to know things that you observe happening and inferences that you can make. Maybe you observe, again, what do you see? And then what do you think is happening? So I observe specifically and I infer. What do you think is happening? Maybe you're inferring where I am, or you're inferring what I'm eating based on the picture. Okay. So this is part of the independent learning. So everybody can be doing this. Then maybe you can find a picture. Maybe take a picture with your camera on your computer, or if you're fancy, you have access to like Google Photos or something through your phone. If you're an Android phone, I think it's automatic, or iPhotos maybe if you're an Apple user. Get an interesting picture, put it on here. Uh, then either ask a friend to do it or you make observations and inferences. Maybe you just want to Google a funny picture of like your favorite rapper, your favorite YouTuber or something, and then write in practice making observations and inferences there, but based on a picture you stick on here, okay? Then when you're done, I want you to click on this or this. These take you to the same place. There's an exit ticket. There's like 3 funny pictures of me and different places I've traveled to. I love to travel. And I want you to answer those questions. This isn't graded. This is all just practice. These are good skills to use. Making observations and inferences are things that you're going to do in all your classes, not just science. In the language arts class, you make inferences about characters, what they feel based on what they say, things like that. So that's it. When you're done with this, don't forget to submit it, turn it in on Google Classroom so I know that you're done. And that's it. Thanks, guys.